All right, so now we're on to graphing rational functions. So how do you graph rational functions? Well, step one is you want to find your horizontal or oblique. Oblique is another word for slant that I slid in there on you. So oblique also means slant. Asymptote. Then you want to factor your numerator and your denominator. The reason why we want to factor to see if there are any holes. Okay, we're going to check for holes. So we're going to find the holes in vertical asymptotes if they exist. And then we're going to sketch our asymptotes. And we're going to find points to the left and right of the asymptotes to plot and connect. Okay, so we're going to practice graphing and identifying our domain and range. If y'all want little graph stickies, I do still have some available if anyone wants a graph sticky for their notes. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else want to graph stickies? Okay, all right. We're going to start with a pretty easy one. So here we have y equals 1 over x minus 2. And we're going to go through the steps. So remember following these steps. So to start off, we're going to identify our slant or horizontal asymptotes. So first, that means we're going to acknowledge the degrees. When there's no variable present, it is x to the 0. That's what it's a degree of 0. Does that make sense? So when there's no variable present, that means it's x to the 0, which makes it a degree of 0. So when I'm looking here, the degree of my numerator is 0. The degree of my denominator is 1. So the numerator is less than the denominator, which means what? Horizontal asymptote. I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So my first boundary line is on the x-axis at y equals 0. Okay. Step 2 says you want to make sure that your numerator and your denominator are fully factored. Are they fully factored? Yes. Factoring is, just pretend that says factoring. Done. Step 3 is now there's nothing to be eliminated, so I have no hole, but I do have a denominator, and I'm going to set my denominator equal to 0 to find my vertical asymptote. Where's my vertical asymptote at? At x equals 2. So I go to x equals 2. And there's my vertical asymptote. Okay, So I sketched in all my asymptotes. Now we're going to find points to the left and the right of the asymptote to plot and connect. So you're going to identify points to the left and the right. Well, our only asymptote is at 2. What point to the left of 2 do I want to test? I always like to go with 0. You know why? It's 0. So, or 1, something easy, right? So let's say if I test 0 and then to the right of it, I'm going to test 3. So if I plug in 0 into my equation, am I getting what do I get? So 0 plugs in and I get -1/2. Okay, I'm going to plug in 3 into my equation. 3 minus 2 is 1 divided by 1 is 1. So at 0, I know that it's at -1/2. So then I'm just going to use that point to follow my asymptotes. At 3, I know it's at 1. So I'm going to use this point to help just follow my asymptotes. And that would be your sketch. If I have more asymptotes, then I have more things to go to the left and right of. Does that make sense? Well, we only have one asymptote, so that's all we had to do. Okay, let's try one more. So here we have 1 over x plus 2 minus 1. What is written in this format, you're conveniently already given your horizontal asymptote or your slant. So step 1 is identify. When it's written in this format, this right here is either whatever is being added or subtracted. That's going to either be your horizontal or your slant. In this case, there's no variable. So this is our horizontal. So you have a horizontal asymptote at y equals -1. Okay, step 2, it's already fully factored. Step 3 is you're now going to focus on your denominator. X plus 2 equals 0. So where's your vertical asymptote at? -2. Step 4 is now to plot all you have. So we're at -1. We're at -2. Done. Step 5 is to choose points to the left and to the right of your asymptote. So I'm at -2. My point to my left, I'm going to do -3. My point to my right, I'm going to do 0. When I plug in -3, I end up with -1 minus 1, which makes it 0. Does that make sense? When I plug in 0, I end up with 1/2 minus 1. So I end up with 1/2 minus 1, which makes it -1/2. So at -3, I'm at 0. At 0, I'm at, am I in the right spot? -1/2. Oh, I did some math wrong. It's not what I got in my notes. What I messed up at, guys? 0.5 minus 1. Isn't that -1/2? Yes. I will resume and see what I did wrong, but I plugged in -3. -3 plus 2 is -1. -1 minus 1. Oh, yes, it's negative. I was like, something ain't right. Thank you. -2. Tripping, y'all. And I can't even get to the eraser, so I'm embarrassed. Just got to see my blemish. And there is my graph.